Brothers and sisters, this message is no coincidence. If you have reached this point, it is because heaven wishes to speak to you at this decisive moment. September 23rd will become a date marked in history, not because men say so, but because the Virgin Mary has revealed that on that day there will be signs so clear that no one will be able to ignore them. What will happen will not be a simple natural phenomenon, nor an isolated event, but a direct warning from heaven, an urgent call to conversion that will resonate in every corner of the earth. When we talk about prophecies, many ask, how do we distinguish the true from the false? How do we know if a message really comes from heaven? The answer lies in the fruits. The Virgin Mary, in all her apparitions, insists on the same thing: prayer, conversion, penance, and return to God. According to Marian messages, September 23rd symbolizes a threshold, a point of no return, at which each soul will be confronted with the truth of their life and their decisions. On that day, hearts will be tested. In different parts of the world, visionaries have spoken of a sign that will descend from the sky, a small but meaningful object. Some describe it as an intense light, others as a luminous cross, and still others as something that will fall to earth and shake entire nations. But beyond its form, what is important is what it represents, a call from God so that no one can say they weren't warned. Let us reflect for a moment. Humanity lives distracted, trapped in the noise of social networks, in ambition, in violence, in hatred. Millions of people live as if God did not exist. And yet, Our Lady reminds us with tears that the time of mercy will not last forever. On September 23rd, heaven will tear away the veil of indifference and show that judgment begins in every conscience. This is not a matter of fear, but of truth. Dear brother, dear sister, listen carefully to these words. September 23rd will be remembered as a day of warning. Entire countries will feel the trembling not only of the earth, but of their spirit. Cities that today seem invincible will discover that in an instant everything can change. Entire families will be confronted with the need to pray, to ask for forgiveness, to reconcile. And each person will have to answer, do I want to remain in darkness or do I seek God's light? At this moment, I want to invite you to something very important. Write the word Amen in the comments as a sign of faith and preparation. It's not a simple gesture, it's a public act of trust in God. When you confess your faith, even with a word, you are opening your heart to grace. And at the same time, by writing Amen, you are joining a community of thousands of people who are walking with you toward the light. Many will mock, many will say that nothing will happen, but this has always been the case with heaven's warnings. In Noah's time, they laughed at the ark. At Fatima, they ridiculed the shepherd children. And yet, heaven fulfilled what it had announced. So too, on September 23rd, those with eyes to see will understand that this is not a coincidence, but a loving but firm warning from God. The Virgin Mary doesn't come to condemn, she comes to plead. She weeps because she sees how millions of souls walk toward perdition and how few heed the voice of heaven. She intercedes, she asks for time, but she also shows us that the clock of mercy is reaching its limit. We cannot wait forever. Every day without conversion is a day lost. September 23rd is not simply another day on the calendar, it is a unique opportunity to awaken. Imagine for a moment the scene, the sky suddenly darkening, a light piercing the clouds, an object slowly descending as the crowds watch in fear and awe. And in that instant, every heart feels a profound tremor, as if the soul itself were confronted by the truth of God. That will be the beginning of a great spiritual shaking. Brother and sister, we don't come to this channel to entertain you, but to prepare your heart. Therefore, in addition to writing Amen, I want to ask you something else. Write the name of your country in the comments. Yes, your nation also needs to be placed under the protection of the Virgin Mary. When you mention your land, may it be consecrated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Together we will form a spiritual map of intercession where each country will be lifted up in prayer. Do not underestimate the power of this gesture. In the midst of chaos, heaven looks upon the faith of the little ones, and it is that faith that stops judgment and attracts mercy. September 23rd will be a day when the faith of the people will be tested, but it will also be an opportunity to show God that we have not forgotten his love. Brothers and sisters, we are just beginning this prophetic journey. In the next few minutes, you will discover with greater clarity what the Virgin Mary has revealed about this day and the consequences it will bring to the nations. Stay with me until the end, because what you hear may change your life forever. The Virgin Mary's message for September 23rd is not a simple symbolic warning. She has insisted time and again that humanity is walking on the edge of a precipice, and that if we do not wake up now, we may regret it too late. Heaven is preparing a sign that will be impossible to ignore. An object will fall from the sky, and although some will interpret it as a natural phenomenon, others will know deep in their hearts that it is a divine sign. And why an object from the sky? The Bible is full of moments in which God spoke through visible signs: the star of Bethlehem, the sun that danced at Fatima, the plagues that announced Israel's liberation. Likewise, September 23rd will mark a before and after in the spiritual history of humanity. A small object, insignificant in the eyes of many, could become the greatest reminder that God still speaks and that he does so with urgency. Marian prophecies remind us that people will be shaken not only physically, but also spiritually. This means that many nations will experience trials, natural disasters, internal conflicts, and crises that will shake their foundations. But at the same time, every family will be called to review its life. It's not just about watching the news, but about looking into our hearts. Our Lady warns us, you cannot serve two masters. At Garabandal, a great warning was spoken of, a moment when each person will see their conscience as in a mirror. Medjugorje told us that the day will come when the secrets will be revealed and the whole world will know that the time of mercy is running out. Fatima warned us of wars, persecutions, and suffering if humanity does not convert. All these warnings converge into a single message: time is short and the call is urgent. Brothers and sisters, we cannot continue living as if nothing is happening. September 23rd is a date that invites us to pause, to ask ourselves what we are doing with our lives. Are we preparing our souls to encounter God, or are we still mired in indifference, routine, and sin? This date is not given to frighten us, but to awaken us. I want you to reflect with me at this moment. If this were your last day, how would you stand before God? What accounts could you render to him? What wounds have you not forgiven? What chains still bind you to the world? The Virgin Mary weeps because she sees how many of her children live as if tomorrow is guaranteed to them, yet no one knows the hour or day when they will be called. September 23rd will be a reminder that life is short and that only the eternal endures. Now I want to ask you to write something very special in the comments. In addition to your country, write a personal intention, something for which you need Our Lady's intercession. It could be your family, a child, a marriage in crisis, an illness, a hidden fear. By sharing your intention, you will be joining thousands of people who will be praying for you, and you will also be praying for them. In this way, we create a chain of intercession that heaven cannot ignore. Consider the power of thousands of voices praying together. Just as at Pentecost the disciples received the Holy Spirit because they persevered together in prayer, today we can experience a new outpouring of grace if we are able to cry out together with one heart. This will be our true preparation for September 23rd. Many wonder, what exactly will happen that day? The truth is that heaven never reveals all the details, because the essential thing is not curiosity, but conversion. However, the messages agree on one thing. There will be a shaking, an impact that will shake the nations, and people will realize they can no longer ignore God's voice. We don't know if it will be an earthquake, a sign in the sky, an unexpected event, but we do know it will be a warning that will stir the consciences of millions. Imagine the multitudes looking up to heaven, seeing the light pierce the darkness. Some will fall to their knees, others will scream in fear, others will simply not understand what is happening. But everyone, absolutely everyone, will be confronted with one reality. God exists, and his voice still resonates. Brothers and sisters, the purpose of this message is not for you to live in fear, but for you to live prepared. Fear paralyzes, but faith strengthens. The Virgin Mary does not want frightened children. She wants vigilant children, children who pray, who live in grace, who help others, who are beacons of light in the midst of darkness. September 23rd will be a day of darkness for many, but it can also be a day of light for those who choose to walk with God. I want you to do something more. If you believe this message is not just for you, but for the whole world, share this video with at least one person. Perhaps that person is going through a crisis. Perhaps they've lost their faith. Perhaps they're on the verge of despair. Don't underestimate what a word of hope at the right moment can do. You can be the instrument Our Lady uses to save a soul. September 23rd is closer than we think, and the closer it gets, the louder heaven's warnings resonate. What will we do with them? Will we continue to ignore them, as so many have done throughout history, or will we open our hearts and prepare? You have the answer, and that answer will mark your eternity. Stay with me, because in the next part you will discover even clearer and more direct signs that the Virgin Mary has given about what will happen on that day. What is coming may shake your heart, but it may also ignite your faith like never before. Brothers and sisters, let us continue to delve deeper into this mystery that heaven has chosen to reveal to us. September 23rd will not be just any day, and although many will try to explain it with human theories, the truth is that the soul will know that it is a divine warning. What will descend from heaven that day will not only be a visible sign, but an inner shock that will touch the depths of every conscience. The Virgin Mary has repeatedly stated that her mission is to prepare her children for the encounter with God. And that encounter will not always come at the end of time. It can come at any moment in our lives, even on a day like September 23rd, when every heart will be confronted with its truth. It will be like a mirror reflecting what we have done with our faith, with our decisions, with our love. Some Marian messages speak of an illumination of conscience. This means that for a moment we will see our lives as God sees them. There will be no excuses, no masks, no justifications. The good we have done will shine forth, but also the evil we have hidden will come to light. This will be one of heaven's greatest acts of mercy, because there will still be time to change. Think about what that means. People who have lived their entire lives in indifference, mocking the sacred, will suddenly be confronted with the truth of their souls. Those who have carried hatred in their hearts will feel the weight of that poison. Those who have lived in lies will see the fragility of their deceptions. And those who have tried to walk in the light will experience profound joy, because they will know that their effort has not been in vain. September 23rd will be a day of revelation. And the revelation will not be just for a few, but for everyone. From the most powerful to the most humble, from those who believe themselves untouchable to those who weep in silence, no one will escape that inner gaze. It will be as if the voice of God resonated in every heart. Where are you? What have you done with the time I have given you? At this point, I want to ask you a direct question. If that enlightenment were to come today, what would it reveal to your soul? I want you to think about it seriously. And if you feel in your heart that you need to reconcile with God, write in the comments, "Lord, I want to be prepared. Don't write it as an empty phrase, but as a sincere prayer. By doing so, you will be taking a step of faith, a public commitment that you want to prepare for what is coming. Countries will also be tested. Not just individuals, but entire nations that have forgotten their spiritual roots. September 23rd, according to some accounts, could bring natural disasters as external signs of what is happening within humanity. Earthquakes, fires, storms, or cosmic events that will shake the very structures of this world. But stronger than all of these will be the tremors of consciences. At Fatima, Our Lady warned of wars and suffering if the world did not convert. Medjugorje speaks of secrets that will soon be revealed and that will mark history. At Garabandal, a warning was announced that no one will be able to avoid. Everything points to the same fact. We are approaching a time when heaven will intervene directly in history to shake us out of our indifference. Brothers and sisters, let us not allow that day to catch us unprepared. Preparing does not mean living in fear, it means living in grace. It means reconciling with those we have hurt. It means praying sincerely. It means approaching the sacraments and opening our hearts to mercy. September 23rd can be a day of sorrow for many, but it can also be a day of hope if we know how to heed heaven's warning. I want us to make a small act of faith together right now. Place your hand on your heart and repeat silently, Mother Mary, I want to hear your voice and prepare my soul for what is coming. Then, in the comments, write the name of a person for whom you would like to intercede. It could be a family member, a friend, even someone who is far from the faith. That name will be presented to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and Our Lady will intercede for them. Imagine the power of thousands of names written, thousands of souls lifted up in prayer. That will be our spiritual wall of protection, a wall that evil cannot tear down. Because even if the world trembles, those who trust in God will be under His protection. Let us not forget something important. September 23rd will not be the end, but a beginning. It will be the start of a new era in which decisions will be more urgent, in which there will no longer be room for lukewarmness. We are either with God or against Him, and the Virgin Mary tenderly but also firmly calls us to choose well. In the following parts of this message, we will delve deeper into the consequences this day will bring not only to nations, but also to each of us personally. Stay tuned, because what follows will help you understand the magnitude of what heaven wishes to reveal to us. Brothers and sisters, we now reach a decisive point in this message. We have understood that September 23rd will be a day of warning, revelation, and spiritual shaking. But we must delve even deeper. What consequences will this event bring not only to individuals, but also to nations? The Virgin Mary has said that when people distance themselves from God, sooner or later they experience the consequences of their decisions. And that day will mark the beginning of a global purification. The external signs will be shocking. Many have spoken of natural disasters that could shake the earth. Earthquakes in unexpected places, fires that will consume entire regions, storms and hurricanes that will exceed the force of what is known. Other seers mention that fireballs could fall from the sky, small but clear enough for no one to doubt their supernatural origin. And although some will try to explain it as simple atmospheric phenomena, hearts will know that it is a warning from heaven. But beyond the physical, the spiritual consequences will be even greater. Millions of people who until now have lived as if God did not exist will feel a weight on their conscience. It will be as if an inner voice was saying, "Enough is enough. Come back to me." Some will fall to their knees, weep and ask for forgiveness. Others, however, will harden their hearts even further and rebel against God. This division will be evident in families, communities, and nations. September 23rd will be a mirror that will reveal not only the condition of each soul, but also of each country. Nations that have legislated against life, that have persecuted faith, that have promoted darkness, will be confronted with their reality. These are not capricious punishments, but inevitable consequences when humanity rejects the Creator. Just as a house without a foundation collapses in a storm, so too do peoples who turn away from God fall into ruin. I want to pause here and extend a special invitation to you. Write in the comments the name of your nation, followed by the word consecrated. Do this as an act of faith, as a way of placing your land under the mantle of the Virgin Mary. Imagine thousands of comments with countries around the world being publicly consecrated to the Immaculate Heart. That simple yet powerful gesture can change the history of your nation. At Fatima, Our Lady warned that Russia would spread its errors throughout the world if it did not consecrate itself. At Medjugorje, she called for the conversion of entire peoples. At Garabandal, she spoke of a purification that would reach every corner of the earth. The message is clear. People who place themselves under Mary's protection experience grace and protection, while those who distance themselves from God reap pain and confusion. On September 23rd, many will wonder why things happen so suddenly, why the world seems to be shaken in a matter of hours. The answer will be clear, because God is calling His people, not to destroy them, but to save them. Every tear of the Virgin Mary is a plea for us to wake up before it is too late. And if we heed that call, the same fire that seemed like destruction will become a light of purification. Brothers and sisters, we must understand that this day will not mark the end of the world, but rather a turning point. It will be like a bell that rings loudly so that no one can say, "I didn't hear, I didn't know, I wasn't warned." After September 23rd, there will be no more room for indifference. We will either be with God or we will be against Him. Therefore, more than ever, we need community, prayer, and unity. It's not enough to prepare ourselves individually. We must prepare ourselves as families, as people, as a church. The enemy wants to divide us, isolate us, and make us believe we are alone. But the Virgin brings us together, unites us under her mantle, and reminds us that together we can endure any trial. I want to ask you for something else. Share a short prayer for your family in the comments. It can be as simple as, "Protect my family, Mother." Those written prayers will become a spiritual wall surrounding everyone who sees this message. And when September 23rd arrives, we will know that we are not facing the warning alone, but united as one body in Christ. Remember what Jesus said, "Where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I in their midst." Now imagine what happens when thousands of people from different nations join together in prayer through this message. That will be the true miracle of September 23rd, not just the warning, but the union of hearts around God. What comes in the following parts will be even more shocking, because we will discover how this day will not only confront humanity, but will also open a path of hope for those who choose to listen to the voice of the Virgin. Brothers and sisters, we have reached a key point in this message. September 23rd will be a day of warning, but it will also be a day of decision. Many will see clearly what is at stake and will understand that we can no longer live in spiritual lukewarmness. The Virgin Mary said it with tears in her eyes. There is a battle between light and darkness, and each of us must choose which side we want to be on. The scriptures remind us that no one can serve 2 masters, and yet millions of people live trapped in that double life, with one foot in faith and the other in the world. September 23rd will be the day heaven will tear away that mask and reveal the truth of every heart. There will be those who, with humility, will acknowledge their sins and ask for forgiveness. But there will also be those, hardened by pride, who will reject God's call and sink deeper into darkness. The Virgin Mary has insisted that the time of mercy is limited, not because God wants to condemn, but because humanity cannot continue indefinitely ignoring her voice. September 23rd will rise like a bell, announcing the end of excuses. We will no longer be able to say, "We didn't know." We will no longer be able to hide behind empty justifications. The warning will be clear, and every soul must respond. At Garabandal, it was said that the warning would come when the world was on the brink of despair. At Medjugorje, it was repeated that the secrets would be revealed little by little, and that the whole world would bear witness. At Fatima, Our Lady warned that if humanity did not convert, times of suffering would come. All these messages converge on the same point. Heaven wants us to wake up before it is too late. Brothers and sisters, we must not be afraid of this warning. Fear does not come from God. What heaven seeks is to shake us out of indifference and remind us that there is still hope. September 23rd will be a day of tears, but it can also be a day of grace. For those who choose to listen, it will be the beginning of a new life. I want to invite you now to a gesture of faith. Write in the comments, "Mary, I want to choose the light." Make it a public declaration that you don't want to live in darkness, that you desire your life to be guided by God. This small written act will be your spiritual banner, your commitment before heaven and before this community of faith that journeys with you. On that day, many will be challenged, but many will also be comforted. Families who have prayed together will see their hearts strengthened. Communities that have remained in faith will experience protection. Even in the midst of pain, there will be signs of hope for those who take refuge under Mary's mantle. The world needs to see testimonies of faith. September 23rd will not only be a day of warning, but also an opportunity for the children of light to shine amidst the darkness. You and I are called to be part of that spiritual army that the Virgin is raising up, not with material weapons, but with prayer, with sacrifice, with love. Remember that the Virgin Mary doesn't speak to us to frighten us, but to save us. Her tears aren't of despair, but of love. She sees what we don't see. She knows what's coming. And as a mother, she begs us not to remain indifferent. If you hear her voice today, do not harden your hearts. Brothers and sisters, let us not forget that after every warning comes a promise. This was the case at Fatima, where, after the pain, the triumph of the Immaculate Heart was announced. This will also be the case after September 23rd. The pain will be intense, but God's light will be even stronger. It will be up to us whether we open ourselves to that light or reject it. Before closing this section, I want to invite you to something special. Write in the comments the name of a person you would like to be part of the light. It could be someone close to you, or even someone who has been far from the faith. This gesture will be like placing their name in Mary's hands so that she may intercede and guide them toward the truth. September 23rd will mark a before and after. What happens that day will be engraved in the memory of humanity. But the most important thing will not be what is external, but what happens in the depths of your heart. Therefore, stay with me on this journey, because in the next part, we will discover the specific signs Our Lady mentioned and how we should prepare to live that day with faith and hope. Brothers and sisters, we have seen that September 23rd will be a day of warning, of decision, and of revelation. But we must also understand that the Virgin Mary does not speak to us only to announce what is to come, but to show us how to prepare. Because it is useless to know what will happen if we do not know what concrete steps we should take to be ready. In various apparitions, Our Lady has reiterated three main weapons: prayer, fasting, and confession. These are not ancient, meaningless practices, but powerful spiritual tools that protect us in the most difficult moments. September 23rd will be no different. Those who are in prayer, those who live in grace, will experience comfort and strength even when the world trembles around them. Our Lady insistently encourages the recitation of the Rosary. Many don't understand this, but each Hail Mary is like a rose placed in the heart of God, and at the same time it is a shield against the forces of darkness. On September 23rd, when millions of hearts are shaken, those who take refuge in the Rosary will find peace. It is not a superstition. It is a spiritual weapon tested throughout history. Fasting is another key. It's not just about not eating, but about offering concrete sacrifices for the conversion of souls. When we fast, we master our bodies and strengthen our spirits. On September 23rd, many will fall into despair, but those who have learned to sacrifice will find strength in the midst of the storm. Confession is fundamental. Our Lady insists that we must reconcile ourselves with God before it is too late. We don't know exactly what will happen that day, but we do know that every soul will be confronted with the truth. And if we arrive at that moment with a heart of grace, we will not be afraid. On the contrary, we will feel hope. I want to invite you to a very special gesture right now. Write in the comments, "I want to prepare myself." And by doing so, you will be publicly declaring your desire not to be surprised by the warning, but to receive it with an open heart. This simple act can make a difference in your spiritual life. Brothers and sisters, let us not forget that September 23rd will also bring hope. The Virgin Mary never speaks only of judgment, she always speaks of God's mercy. Just as a mother warns her child not to harm himself, Mary warns us because she loves us. And she tells us that those who take refuge in her Immaculate Heart will not be abandoned. Imagine what that day will mean. While many run away in despair, you will be able to rest at peace because you know the Virgin has prepared you. While others cry out in fear, you will be able to raise your eyes to heaven and say, "Mother, I am with you." That is the difference between those who listen and those who ignore. The world is full of noise and confusion. The enemy wants to distract us with 1,000 things so that we forget the essential. But Our Lady calls us to the simple: prayer, sacrifice, confession, love. These are the true refuges. No matter how much money you have, no matter how strong your position in society, on September 23rd, none of that will help. Only faith will. I want you to think about your family now. How are your loved ones? Are they prepared? Are they living as if God exists or as if he were just a distant memory? Write the name of a family member and a brief prayer for them in the comments. Do it with faith, because that name will be placed under the mantle of Mary, and the Virgin will intercede for each person mentioned here. Brothers and sisters, what the Virgin Mary asks of us is simple, yet profound. If we obey, we will experience peace even in the midst of warning. If we disobey, the burden will be much greater. Everything depends on the decision we make today. September 23rd will be a day of revelation, but what we do now will determine how we live it. I want you to keep these words in your heart. Heaven does not abandon those who trust. That is the promise we must remember when the time comes. The Virgin will not leave us alone, but she needs us to take a step toward her. Stay with me, because in the next part we will see how this day will not only mark a judgment, but will also open a door to new hope. What is coming will be difficult, but also glorious for those who choose to remain in the light. Brothers and sisters, we have reached the most intense part of this message. September 23rd is not simply a date on the calendar, it is a threshold, a day that will mark the memory of humanity and will be engraved in the hearts of those who live that experience. We have spoken of the warning, of the object that will descend from heaven, of the consciences that will be enlightened, and of the nations that will be shaken. Now we must understand what this day will mean on a spiritual and prophetic level. The Virgin Mary has repeatedly said that the time of mercy is reaching its limit. This does not mean that God stops loving, it means that his love can no longer be scorned. September 23rd will be a living reminder that every decision we make has eternal consequences. Some will experience it as an inner judgment, others as a necessary purification, and still others will reject it completely. But no one will be able to remain indifferent. On that day, many will understand for the first time the reality of heaven, hell, and purgatory, not as distant ideas, but as tangible truths. The warning will be like a spark that ignites faith in millions, but it will also be the occasion when others will confirm their rebellion. And that will be the great division, not between countries, not between cultures, but between those who choose to open themselves to the light and those who close themselves off to the darkness. Brothers and sisters, we must be clear that what comes after September 23rd will be even more decisive. The warning will be a beginning, not an end. It will be the beginning of a time of great trials, but also of great graces. Those who take the Virgin's call seriously will see miracles, conversions, and changes in their families. Those who reject it, on the other hand, will feel the weight of emptiness and despair. I want to invite you to a very important gesture right now. Write in the comments, "I want to be part of the light." It's not just a phrase, it's a declaration of faith, a way of publicly saying that you choose God over the world. That phrase will be your response to heaven, your written commitment that you want to live prepared. September 23rd will also bring hope. Yes, there will be tears. Yes, there will be pain, but there will also be an opportunity for rebirth. Our Lady reminds us that every warning is at the same time a sign of mercy. God doesn't force us to choose it, He invites us. And on that day, when the veil falls, we will know that we still have time to change. Imagine what will happen after the warning. Many people who had never prayed before will join in supplication. Families that were divided will be reconciled. Entire communities will return to the faith. And at the same time, a great spiritual resistance will arise against those who would silence this awakening. But we must not fear, because if God is for us, who can be against us? Our Lady asks us not to be carried away by fear or by the voices that will try to deny what is happening. The world will seek scientific explanations. Some will call it a coincidence. Others will invent theories to diminish its divine character. But you who have heard this message will know in your heart that this is a warning from heaven, and that certainty will be your strength. Brothers and sisters, we are facing a unique time in history. We have not been brought to these days by chance, but because we have a mission. You, who are listening to this message, are part of that spiritual army that the Virgin is raising up. You are not a spectator, you are a protagonist. Your prayers, your sacrifices, your faith can change the course of your family, your nation, and the world. That's why I want to ask you for something else. Share a word of hope in the comments. It could be faith, light, love, or whatever comes from your heart. By doing so, you will be sowing light in the midst of this message and in the lives of those who read it. Darkness is fought with words of life, and you can be a bearer of that life. September 23rd will change everything, and you decide how you want to experience it, as a day of fear or as a day of grace. The Virgin Mary has already given us the tools. She has already warned us. She has already shown us the way. Now it's up to us to respond. Stay with me, because at the conclusion of this message, we will pray together a prayer of protection for your family and for all nations, and you will discover how this day will be the beginning of a new time. Don't miss what's coming, because what you will hear in the final part can transform your life forever. Brothers and sisters, we have reached a point where we must open our eyes and hearts completely. September 23rd will not only be a day of individual warning, but will become a watershed in the spiritual history of humanity. Just as there was a before and after the flood, a before and after the cross, there will also be a before and after September 23rd. The Virgin Mary speaks to us with tears because she knows that on that day she will reveal the truth to millions of souls. Many who believe themselves safe will discover they are in danger, and many who feel unworthy will discover that God's mercy still awaits them. This is the paradox of divine love. It confronts us with the truth, but always offers us a way out of hope. It will be a day when the veil between heaven and earth will thin. Some will see lights in the firmament, others will hear a clear voice within them calling for conversion. There will be those who experience profound peace, and those who, on the other hand, will feel an unbearable burden for the life they have led. No one will remain indifferent, because heaven will speak in a way that every soul can understand. The scriptures say the sun will be darkened and the stars will fall from the sky. Many interpret this literally, but it also has a spiritual meaning. The false securities of the world will crumble, human idols will fall, and only the eternal will remain. September 23rd represents that moment when the false lights of the world will be extinguished and the only true light will be that of God. Brothers and sisters, we must be prepared for what will come after the warning. Because it is not enough to hear the call, we must respond. Many, moved by the impact of September 23rd, will seek confession, prayer, and reconciliation with their families. But there will also be forces that will try to extinguish that spark of faith. The media, governments, and even those close to us will try to convince people that nothing happened, that it was a collective illusion. But you will know the truth in your heart, because Our Lady has already announced it to you. I want to extend an invitation to you now. Write the word, "I will not doubt," in the comments. By doing so, you will be committing to keeping your faith firm, even when the world tries to make you believe otherwise. This gesture will be your spiritual shield, your conscious decision not to be dragged down by the lies of darkness. September 23rd will also be a day of unity. The Virgin Mary wants her children to unite in prayer, in fasting, in acts of love. This will be the time to establish small cenacles of faith in homes, to gather families to pray together, to return to the rosary as a powerful weapon. We cannot face what is coming alone. We need community. And that community begins with you and those close to you. The Marian messages show us that after the warning, there will be a time of purification, but also of great miracles. Many sick people will be healed, many hardened hearts will return to the faith, and many broken families will find reconciliation. The warning will be painful, yes, but it will also open the door to an unprecedented wave of grace. I want you to think about your own life now. What miracle do you need? What area of your life needs heaven's light? Write it in the comments. It can be something personal or something related to your family. That request will be like a seed planted in the fertile soil of this message. And when September 23rd arrives, that seed can blossom into grace. Brothers and sisters, let us not forget that Mary is a mother. She does not abandon us in times of trial. On the contrary, it is in these moments that her mantle extends most strongly. September 23rd will not be a day to fear, but a day to take refuge under her protection. And while the world trembles, those who hide in her heart will find peace. What comes after that day will be demanding, but also glorious. Because heaven does not speak to us to destroy us, but to save us. Every warning is an opportunity. Every tear of the Virgin is a bridge to mercy, and you are being invited today to cross that bridge. Stay with me, because in the next part, we will delve even deeper into the spiritual consequences of this day and how each of us can be a bearer of light in the midst of the darkness to come. What you will hear will clearly show you that September 23rd will not be the end, but the beginning of a decisive time for humanity. Brothers and sisters, we have walked together through a profound message that shows us the seriousness and urgency of September 23rd. We have not heard these words by chance. Heaven is preparing us for a day that will be decisive, a day that will open the eyes of millions of people and mark the spiritual history of humanity. The Virgin Mary has spoken to us with tears, with the tenderness of a mother, but also with the firmness of one who does not want to lose any of her children. September 23rd should not be a reason for fear, but rather a reason for hope, because what heaven seeks is not to destroy, but to save. On that day, when the world trembles, those who take refuge under Mary's mantle will find peace. When many run away in despair, those who trust in God will raise their hands and say, "Lord, I trust in you." And that will make the great difference. I want to invite you now to say a prayer of protection together. Don't say it as a routine, but as an act of profound faith. Close your eyes, bow your heart, and repeat with me, prayer of protection for families. Virgin Mary, Mother of Heaven, today we consecrate our families to your Immaculate Heart. We ask you to cover us with your mantle in the days of trial. Protect them from confusion, fear, and darkness. Give us the grace to remain steadfast in faith, to choose the light in the midst of darkness, and to live each day prepared for the encounter with your Son, Jesus. Mother, do not allow any of our loved ones to be lost. Be our sure refuge and our hope. Amen. Brothers and sisters, this prayer isn't the end. It's the beginning of a commitment. Every time you pray it, you'll be building a spiritual shield around your family. Every time you say Mary's name, the enemy will retreat, because he knows that the mother's heart is stronger than all the forces of darkness. But the message doesn't end there. September 23rd will be just the beginning of a new era. And in the next video, we'll discover something even more shocking. The signs that will come after that day and how they will affect not only nations, but also each of us. Stay tuned, because what is about to be revealed could change your life forever.